Welcome to the Captain's Run with the great Cameron Smith. I tell you what, I mean, it is Christmas. It is truly Christmas. We are less than 7 days out from an Origin decider in Suncorp Stadium. Now, a core stadium, great stadium, all good, but there's something special about having an Origin decider at Suncorp Stadium, Smithy.
Oh, it's so good. Playing Origin at Suncorp Stadium, and g'day to all the listeners out there today. Playing just an Origin game at Suncorp is special, and I've been lucky enough to play a few there. But when there's an opportunity to play a decider, there's nothing bigger. There is nothing bigger. And I was talking with earlier in the week about playing at various stadiums, not just around Australia, but in the world. I've been very fortunate, along with guys like Billy and JT, to play at grounds like Wembley, Old Trafford, which you know very well, being a soccer man.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a young fella,
when we travelled for soccer, we actually got to get taken through Old Trafford. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And we played Man United under 16s.
Yep. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a very good experience. But back to you, Smithy.
Yeah. And we're Anfield.
Wow.
We played at Anfield.
Wow.
2016, the Four Nations Tour final. But it just getting back to Suncorp. As far as playing on those international stages, like to play a game of rugby league in such a big match like a decider, it just does not get any better. As a rugby league player, like there's just no atmosphere like it.
Is there any decider that stands out for you personally where you could feel the tension the most and, so much felt like it was on the line?
I remember, my final game, 2017.
Yep.
And both from a team point of view and a personal point of view as well, not knowing that was my last game.
Yeah.
But, I felt that I hadn't contributed as much as I wanted to that series.
Yeah, there's a lot of chat in the media too about
Maroons. Yeah, and so I remember that game. I put a fair bit of sort of, not pressure, but I had a lot of expectation of myself to go out and play well that game, but also the team. We knew that we had to go out and play one of the best games that we've played in a long time to be able to beat the Blues in that year. And I just remember the build up was just. I'd never been a part of an Origin build-up like it, Game 3 2017. And just, I remember getting to the ground, there was the people, it was just chock-a-block outside the stadium when we pulled up on the bus, and the roar that erupted when we come out of the tunnel to run on the field. Because you got to remember, like State of Origin, there's 4 games during the year where you don't get an opportunity to go out and warm up outside and get a feel for the crowd, get a feel for the atmosphere.
So
it's the
true.
3 Origins and the grand final. So, it's something that we've spoken about with the Maroons. This camp is about enjoying the experience, enjoying what you're going to feel when you run out there, because it's unlike anything that you'll experience anywhere else.
Yeah, wow. I mean, a much smaller occasion, but I remember in my second game of NRL was at Suncorp Stadium, and it was in a derby versus the Gold Coast Titans. And so the kickers and catchers run out first and do the kick and catching.
Yeah.
So it's the first time I've ever run out to Suncorp, and it's a derby. So back then, derbies, Gold Coast were huge, nearly almost a sellout.
Yep, would have been 40,000,
mate. So as I'm running out, like it hits me, and I literally nearly trip over. And Stevie Michaels was like laughing at me, but it was just like as I was running out, I looked up and was like, "Holy!"
Yeah.
Nearly tripped over those like mats that like are on the thing before you hit out the grass.
Yep.
Yeah, nearly tripped over. So that would have been good. My first run out to Suncorp. That was a game where Lockie did the field goal and it hit the post and went over.
Hit the upright, hit the crossbar?
Yeah, I think so.
Over?
Yeah. And so,
wow.
And so just an example of like, I can't imagine. Do you almost feel the crowd because it's so loud, like the sound? Can you like feel the sound?
Like literally, it whacks you in the face.
Wow.
And the noise that the entire stadium makes when you come out. So you're in the locker room, you get the call, time to go out, and as you walk out, you come out of the dressing rooms and you have to make a left-hand turn, and as you turn, the lights of the stadium hit you.
Yeah.
And you can see people leaning over the tunnel.
Yep.
And as you come out a little bit, the sort of roof of the tunnel disappears, and then it just opens up to that eastern stand.
Far out.
And then as you first get out, everyone gets a look at the Maroons coming out, and just goes bang.
Wow.
And the noise, like, it just reverberates through your body.
Far out.
And talking about it now,
Getting chills?
I'm getting chills.
I'm getting goosebumps.
I'm getting chills
Far out.
all over. But yeah, that one, yeah, as I said, Game 3, 2017 stands out.
That was a game where it seemed like you made a really decided effort to run the ball. Was that something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was there was a few questions around my lack of running, throughout the first 2 matches. But I knew after I finished Game 2 that I knew already before we even started Game 3 camp. We had to go back and play 2 games for Melbourne.
Wow.
And as soon as I walked off that ANZ, the turf of ANZ in Game 2, where JT kicked that goal to put us up by 2, to send it to a decider, I knew exactly what I needed to do for Game 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Far
So
out.
I had it in my head
Locked in.
a minute after the full-time siren in Game 2 that I was going to be running the footy in Game 3.
Far out.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I would love to see statistically whether, like, how much, like, was that the most you ever ran in a game? Because, I mean, it was quite a lot.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. I think there's probably matches earlier in my career where I would have done a lot more running. But I think the difference in that game was that, the times that I made the decision to run, they were probably more impactful.
Yeah. So true. So true. I mean, wow, incredible. Thanks. Welcome all our listeners, however you're tuning in. 1170 SEN in Sydney, 1620 SEN on the Gold Coast, 1053 in Brisbane. Our Queensland listeners via the SENQ on DAB+, or you're listening via the SEN app. Download the SEN app. If you aren't listening on it, give us a listen anytime. Plus, you can subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify. Pause it. Listen in a couple of days or next week, whenever you want, on Apple and Spotify. It's the Captain's Run. Make sure to subscribe. But look, the Origin teams have been selected. Everyone's locked in their sides. First of all, we'll do New South Wales side.
Yep.
We'll talk about the biggest, and actually for our listeners, Latrell Mitchell will most likely be joining us at a later time during the show. So stay tuned for that. Latrell Mitchell's going to walk us through why he decided to, make himself unavailable, which is going to be really exciting. So make sure to stay tuned. Latrell Mitchell will be with us later in the show. But the biggest talking point, or one of the biggest talking points out of New South Wales, was Freddie has stuck with Crichton and Burton. And matter of fact, even Whiten is still only 18th man. Thoughts on this decision?
I was a little bit surprised by this. I spoke on Vossi's show at the start of the week, and I mentioned that I was quite confident that Jack Whiten would come straight back into the 17 at least, and it was going to be Sifa Talakai that come out of the lineup. Not because Talakai didn't play well in Game 2. Every player that played for the Blues played really well in that match over in Perth. I just thought off the back of Jack Whiten's performance in Game 1, who was possibly their best player, and then just his ability to play in several different positions across the park, like nearly every position in the back line he can play.
Yeah,
and also a bit of back row, or even chuck him in at 13. He plays that physical, aggressive style of footy. I thought he was going to be a lock for their 17.
Yeah,
but he's put him at 18th man, but things can change.
Do you think there's a chance that he could squeeze him in before kickoff?
Absolutely.
Because he did that Game 1 didn't squeeze an 18th man in, but he
made 2 changes.
Yeah,
he took a couple of his starting ruck players and put them on the bench, and the interchange players come in. So, look, I think there quite possibly could be a change, but again, we prepare for everything. We just make note of the players that are in their squad and the possibility of some late changes, so we're aware of it.
Yeah.
But once we're aware of that, most of our focus has been on what we can do to be better for for Game 3.
Yeah, it is a really. It's tough because when you look at the score of Game 2, you go, oh wow, that was quite a substantial loss. But then you don't want to go down the route of changing too much because you go back to Game 1 and say, boys, we've got the job done at a core stadium with this squad.
Yeah, that's right, and I think that's why Bill and the selectors stuck with the same side or the same squad that we've had in the first 2 matches. Is that when you look at you can look at a loss and a loss with that particular scoreline in Game 2 and go, well, geez, we got to make some serious changes here if we're a chance in Game 3. But then you got to go, hang on a minute. Well, this same team, they went to Sydney, where the record isn't great for Queensland. It's a really tough place to have a win, and they went down there and played really well. Yeah, they played really well,
absolutely,
and got one of the toughest wins Queensland has ever had down there in Sydney. And they got the job done. So why then have some mass changes for blokes that have done the job before? So. Yeah, Billy and the selectors, they've backed the boys in. The only change, the one forced change we've had to make was obviously Felice Kafusi being unavailable. And we wish him and his family all the best with his father being quite ill still overseas. But Jeremiah Nanai takes that spot on the right edge, and Tommy Gilbert, which we'll touch on a little bit later with the Queensland side. He gets his opportunity to make his debut for Queensland. Yeah,
for sure. It's going to be... honestly, I'm so excited. Now, so the centre's position, the Latrell situation, I really respect it. I thought it was a really selfless act by him. Everyone knows Latrell is probably one of the biggest competitors in our game. We know he loves the Origin. I mean, we're talking about the same Latrell as a young teenager picking out Will Chambers and going, let's go, boys. Let's have a crack.
Yeah.
That's how much he loves the Origin arena. I personally thought it was fantastic. I thought it was exactly probably what the Blues needed in the sense of it took away a lot of chat, a lot of media. But I will say, on the flip side of that, do you think New South Wales potentially, they've got plenty of game breakers, but there is argument to be made that Game 3, Suncorp, they need something special. Latrell could have provided that just game-breaking special moment. Do you think they may miss that or may not miss that? They've got enough game breakers as it is.
Yeah, look, I think coming off their Game 2 performance, I think they'll be pretty confident that they've got the team to go up there and play well and get a good result. If you're looking sort of X-factor players, then I don't know, maybe you're thinking Matt Burton. With the way he come in and he was able to put up some of those big spiral bombs and made a bit of a difference.
Honestly, nightmare
to their side, and just it gave Queensland something else to think about. So, but on the Latrell thing, and hopefully we get to speak to him a little bit later. I absolutely respect his decision. He's played one game of rugby league in 3 months.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him for It's unfortunate that a lot of people look down on the decision. Why should you make yourself? Why should you be able to make yourself unavailable? But just put it into context. The bloke's only played one game in 12 weeks. He may feel that he's not up to Origin, and if he goes in there, he could easily put his hand up. Yeah, okay, I'll play. He goes in there, and has a howler. Then what are the critics saying? They're having a go at him.
It's all his
selfish.
Fault. Yeah.
Selfish. Shouldn't have put his hand up. Shouldn't have played.
Crazy.
So he's obviously feeling, hey, look, they're coming off a really good win. They'd be confident. If I go in there, and am I at my best right now? Probably not. Having played one game again in 12 weeks.
It's impossible, pretty much.
You can't be at your best. It doesn't matter how good a player you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, he's probably thinking, look, I don't want to go in there, interrupt something that they've built over, Game 2. They've got some good things going in there. They've got some stability with their footy side. If I go in and change things up, is that going to jeopardise what they're trying to do for Game 3? So absolutely applaud what he's doing. And as a Queenslander,
you don't want the big fella angry in Suncorp Stadium.
Oh wow, yeah.
Look, I agree, mate, with everything you said. It's just he's in a no-win situation. And also, I think, just a personal opinion on the situation. if a bloke doesn't want to play for his state, I don't want him playing for the state. You know what I mean? This whole like ruling yourself out thing.
Oh, that's right.
It's like if you don't want to play, you should not be playing for the state. Like in what crazy world are we going to? First of all, who doesn't want to play for the state? It's not going to become a problem where we're all going to be sitting here in a couple of years going, "Oh no, everyone's ruling themselves out." It's like, are you serious?
No.
Everyone would play. But I honestly reckon most of the boys would play for free. That's how big the occasion is.
Yeah.
Obviously they shouldn't, but they would.
Yeah. Mate, I don't get the backlash of that he's copped from some people saying, like it's ridiculous and whatnot. But he knows the position that he's in physically and mentally, and maybe he's making the decision for his fellow New South Welshmen.
Yeah,
that he feels as though they'd be better off without him right now.
Oh, mate, absolutely.
If he's fully fit, no dramas.
Yeah,
mate, he'll be in there.
100%.
Anyway.
And also, you have to remember with Latrell, is not only has he only played one game in like 3 months, before the season, like at the end of last season, he missed the end of the whole season. So he's really played in the last 6 months. You're looking at like 4 or 5 games.
Not a lot.
Maybe even in longer, like 7, 8 months. You're looking at 4 or 5 games. That's a very small amount of games of footy. Now, onto the other absolute. This to me personally was a bombshell. Not because he doesn't deserve it. I think he's been absolutely slaving away up north. But Jordan McLean comes all the way into the starting side, which is really interesting because RCG, who I thought didn't put a foot wrong, in game one, can't even make it back into the side. Really interesting selection. Thoughts on the McLean?
Yeah, well, I think that's the strange part of the selection for me, and I think for most people is that Regan Campbell-Gillard plays game one and played quite well.
Yep. Gets
left out for game two, and then there's a whole new prop brought in for game three, who's playing his first. I know Jordan McLean was part of the game two squad.
Yeah,
that went to Perth. But this is his first game of the series. So him being picked, I'll start off by saying this. Him being picked is well-deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been part of the New South Wales sort of squads or systems over the last couple of seasons. So he's been in and around the team. He's played for the Kangaroos already. Okay, so he knows what rep footy's all about. He's played in some big games for the Melbourne Storm and performed really well. And he's just been a little bit unlucky after leaving the Storm. He had some pretty significant injuries, particularly I think he had like a Liz Frank injury.
Oh, really?
To his foot, so he missed a lot of football. But watching him this year, Kempy, it's taken me back to those couple of seasons he had at Melbourne, 16 and 17, where he was one of the premier props in the competition. And that's when he got an opportunity to play for the Kangaroos in the 2017 World Cup. When he was going really well. Ended up signing with the Cowboys and left the club at the end of that year. But from just a personal point of view, from Jordan McLean, absolutely deserves to be playing for the Blues. I think he's been playing fantastic for the Cowboys. They got a huge representation this year, don't they, the Cowboys, and it's just a reward and a reflection of how they're going as a team, as a club. But the strange part of that is you have a prop in RCG playing game one and played quite well, gets left out of game two, and then bring in a whole new bloke for game three. That's the strange part.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
There's a method to the madness, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a look at this on Monday's show. Actually, just quickly before I continue on, I will be outside the stadium, game 3, with the NRL doing a live stream, the Caxton Street side. So if you're walking down from the Caxton Street, you'll see myself interviewing fans, New South Wales, Queensland. So come down and say hi because it's going to be a great night. And also make sure to tune in because the next day, myself and Smithy. Now, if Queensland get a win, we can't promise Smithy will be there.
Might be a no-show.
You know what? I'll do my best. I'll take you back to my war stories in that one game I played for Queensland.
I wouldn't, mate. I wouldn't leave you hanging. I might make the last 10 minutes.
Hey, mate, that's enough. But make sure to tune in because we'll be reviewing the massive game 3. But yeah, with Jordan McLean, we actually looked at, like, we were looking for reasons like, okay, he has been playing well, but why would he get put in over RCG? But if you actually look at his stats defensively, he's one of the best defensive front rowers in the competition.
Yep.
He's only missed 12 tackles all season.
Yep.
And I think, and Freddie came out and said, he actually came out and explained the selection. He said, when you look at statistics, McLean, that's why he's kind of been selected. So I think McLean has been selected purely for that first 20 minutes of like tough defense, no holes in the line, similar to Jake Trbojevic. Because he's like, you would say, Trbojevic, his asset is his defence, like 100%.
Yep.
And Jordan McLean, so obviously he's gone in the direction of defence. It's going to be really interesting to see how many minutes he gets because Junior Bolo actually played a significant amount last game.
Yeah.
Now, onto the bench, we've got thoughts on, do you think, and we've kind of spoken about it, but Talakai on the bench, do you think Whiten could squeeze his way into that spot or what are the chances of that, do you think?
I'm not too sure on the chances, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, Kempy.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
If you look at game 2, Talakai ended up getting, 15 minutes?
Not even
less.
that. Yeah, it was like, honestly, it was like very, very little.
12 minutes?
Yeah.
So I think, with a guy like Talakai on the bench, it's sort of, you're just looking for an opportunity, if one presents itself, to get him on the field. Maybe if he needs to get him on there for just a...
17 minutes. Sorry, mate.
17
you're right.
minutes.
Yep.
Like just a little burst of chaos. You throw him out there and just say, hey, mate, just go mad for 15, 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you look at a Jack White, he may just cover a few more positions and options. But at the same time, you don't want to be taking someone onto the bench for the what if moments.
100%.
So it just depends on the Blues strategy with the way they want to work their interchange. But I guess the hard thing for them going into game 3 is what they went with in game 2 worked so well for them.
Yeah.
So you don't want to start mucking around with things going into a game 3 when the previous match you played, it worked so well for them.
Absolutely.
So
we're going to head to a break. After the break, we are going to be reviewing the Queensland selections. Some huge, huge selections, some huge calls. Going to get Smithy's thoughts on it. Make sure to call in, guys. 1300 01 1170. Ask us all of your footy questions. That's 1300 01 1170. Or give us a text 0457 736 736. Ask us your footy questions. We'll be reading out texts. We'll be giving out prizes, all that good stuff. See you on the other side. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We got 1,000 texts here, Smithy. 1,000 texts.
What do we got, mate?
Hey, boys, love the show. Not only one game in 12 weeks for Latrell since suspension, 3 games in 9 months. Props to Latrell. Took a bigger man to stand down. That's from Simo. He says, South Sydney till he dies.
Yeah, good point.
Really good point, Simo. Appreciate the message, mate. Here, hi, fellas. Just a question for Smithy. Which rookie out of the 3 camps has impressed you the most? Also, how is Tom Gilbert in camp getting ready for his Origin debut?
No, he's been good. We've only had a couple of sessions. We're out in Warwick, actually. We might touch on that after the next break when we talk about the Queenslanders. But that was a good trip. But no, he's been really good, and he's been in great form for the Cowboys, Tommy Gilbert. Great inclusion for the Maroons.
And rookie has impressed you across the 3 camps?
Ooh, I've been impressed with a lot of the guys, but Reuben Cotter was outstanding game 1. Only got to play the 1 match. But, mate, Paddy Carrigan.
He's good, isn't he?
Oh, he's so good.
Mate, Broncos. Give him a lifetime deal.
Loves his footy,
yeah.
Right? Thinks about his footy. Is great vocally around the group. Only a young man still.
Yeah, 23, 24.
And I see him as he's captained. He's got the
last
seat
year
for the Broncos.
Yeah.
I could see him long-term captain for that footy club.
Absolutely.
And potentially, and possibly in the future, Maroons as well.
Wow, that's impressive. And yes, he's a Bronco. How good. How good. Now, we've got a question from Adrian. He says, why hasn't Billy Slater been asked straight up why Josh Papali'i has been restricted to a meagre 40-odd minutes out of a possible 160 minutes. Big Papa is way out of form, and for mine, Flegler should be in for him. Not using Papali'i to his full capacity impacts on the team in a negative sense. Adrian.
Well, I don't know if that's actually the case. It has a negative effect on the team. I think we've got players there that can play big minutes.
Yeah.
And Big Joshy, he's there to make an impact when he's on the field, and his role is he's been asked to just go as hard as he can for as long as he can. And when he's tired, we'll get him off for a break.
Yeah, okay.
So, I think if you think back to his first carry in Origin 1, He knocked Isaiah Yeo out.
Yo, ouch.
Should have come from the field, but he stayed on.
Yep.
We move on. And last game, a lot of Big Papa's work was just done through defence, and a lot of his carries were just from his own end. And it was just if you look at the entire game by Queensland, it was just all defensive, hard running yardage stuff.
Yeah.
With no good ball stuff where you have a bit more energy. So let's hope we start a bit better this game, and we get a bit more quality football for Big Papa, and he can get a few more minutes in him.
Now we're going to head to a break. After the break, we are going to review Queensland's selection for Game 3. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with the great Cameron Smith. Now, Smithy, we've had some selections for Game 3. Look, stuck solid. Let's start with the wings first of all. Me personally, I thought Corey Oates was probably pushing strong for a selection.
Yep.
What was the thought process to stick with the young fellas, Taulangi and Selwyn Cobbo?
Yeah, well, they both had some pretty difficult moments in the second game, particularly with a couple of high balls that New South Wales put up.
Nightmare balls.
Yeah, a couple of nightmare balls. I don't think there'd be a winger in the competition that would have caught that Burton spiral.
Yuck.
But anyway, they dropped a couple that they should have caught, and that was part of the review. The boys know that, and so they're working hard on making sure that they fix those things that they didn't get quite right in Game 2. But I thought our kick pressure was down as well.
Yeah, absolutely was.
All right, so it's no excuse. It's no excuse for our back three, but we didn't help them out by the lack of kick pressure on the Blues kickers. So that's something that we need to look at as well. But I think again, going back to the point of, hey, let's not forget that Selwyn played in Game 1, and without having those sort of brilliant moments that we've seen sort of nearly every week for the Broncos, he didn't get too many of those opportunities in Game 1, but he did a lot of hard physical work, and he was really good from the backfield. And when you say backfield, you're talking about coming off your own line, having some really tough carries.
Yeah. And they were hunting him too. They were hunting him.
Yeah, and they were, mate. And the one thing you don't want to do is go, have one loss and all of a sudden go, oh, mate, easy decision, chuck the rookie out.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, like, his profile has exploded this year.
Yeah.
Okay, and so like you got to remember, he's only a young man. He's played a handful of first grade games. All of a sudden, he's playing in the highest intensity rugby league you can play, playing State of Origin, and he must feel a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
So the challenge for him, and also us as coaches, is to make sure that he gets to Game 3 in the best possible mental state where, whether there's pressure or expectation on him to go and play well, he's in an environment where he just understands his role and he can go out and play his best footy. Yeah. And we're backing him.
Yeah.
We're backing him. That's why he's there. And so is Murray Tuolangi. He went back to club footy, Murray Tuolangi, and was outstanding for the Cowboys.
Yeah. They both really did respond, which is what you want to see in a young player.
That's right.
I think also, if you find the right person that buys into a team's culture, and let's assume Taulangi and Selwyn are the right guys. I believe they are. I think that by sticking loyal to them and saying, okay, you didn't have the best Game 2, but we're going to stick with you. You build a lot of loyalty and respect out of that with the young fellas.
Yeah, and I think what you do also is you build belief. You build belief in those young men.
Yeah.
That they're like, hey, well, these guys trust us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to go out and play our best footy.
Now there was, I don't know if it was internal, and I'm sure you could shine a light on this, but there was a bit of chat about Dane Gagai being under a bit of pressure. Was that all just external noise? Was he always kind of?
No, I think that was a lot of external noise. And I think Dane would be the first person to put his hand up and say, again, he didn't have the best of Game 2 performances. But again, he wasn't the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the things that went wrong for players individually in Game 2 for Queensland, a lot of that was attributed to the way the team played. Okay, so it's like we're playing a team sport. It's not an individual sport where you go out and it's just you.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that you perform is yeah, it's a combination of sorry, the decisions you make and the actions you perform on the field, but also what happens around you as well.
Yeah.
Like you understand that particularly as a winger.
For sure.
A lot of the decisions you make, as a winger or a centre, is dictated to what happens inside you.
Yeah.
Particularly in defence.
Absolutely.
So I think as a team, the guys understand that it wasn't a great team performance. And although there was a tremendous amount of effort that went into that match, I don't think we played overly smart football. We didn't really think about our footy too much like we did in game one, where we played a smart game.
Absolutely.
We were able to handle different situations, whereas in Perth, I just don't think we had that same mindset or same attitude.
Yeah.
Particularly comparing it to the Blues where it was do or die for them.
Yeah.
They had to play the way they played to be any chance of taking this series to a game 3.
Yeah, it's with a guy. It's so important to stress that, like, as a centre winger, even as a 3-in defender, as a half, like if your 4-in doesn't get to a certain point on the field, it stretches numbers. If it looks, especially at Origin, you're trying to build combinations. So, like, a perfect example is sometimes, like, I was outside Justin Hodges at the Broncos for a lot of, wasn't for very long, but for a period of time.
Yep.
And Hodger had this, like, little trait that he would, like, dummy to jam in. And so sometimes I would go, and I would react straight to it. And so I'd come flying in, and then he would he would dummy to go in, so he'd take a few steps forwards, and then he would start backing off.
Back off, yeah.
And it takes time to learn those inside combinations with each other and go, okay, Hodges likes to dummy. Whereas, like, when I was outside Darius Boyd, he was very, like, by the book, stay square. If we jam, we jam. If we slide, we slide. So it's all about timing and building combinations, which hopefully Dane and DCE are going to do this game. Now on to probably the biggest call, I'd say, out of all the players, if I'm being honest, from my perspective. Jeremiah Nanai brought off the bench to start. Instead of, say, a veteran like Arrow or even. Probably Arrow would be the guy that you'd be looking at. What was the thought process behind that?
Oh, well, he's been playing extremely well for the Cowboys, and he starts there for the Cowboys. So I think maybe giving him an opportunity in that familiar starting spot, where things are. It's a lot different now off the bench. Like it's a particular role that you need to be able to play. Whereas it's the same. Sort of situation for him now where he's starting. He gets straight into the match from the first kickoff, whether Queensland receive or kick off. And also just his ability, that game-breaking ability that he has. Both defensively to come up with some good decisions, some big tackles, and also, he can sniff out a try.
It's crazy.
Unbelievably for a back row.
Honestly.
Unbelievably.
He's on 13 tries or something?
Yeah. And just loves chasing kicks.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason. And his performances at club level have been rewarded.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned earlier about, the Cowboys and the representation they have in both sides. Chad Townsend joining.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up in a bit. Chad Townsend.
The Blues, but that's reward for playing consistent good footy for your club every week.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cowboys, oh man, Toddy Payton, he must be, obviously the job is not done and they've still got a season to, I guess, complete, but he must be absolutely wrapped for the boys that, they've come so far.
Absolutely.
So far.
Absolutely.
Now, outside of that, the great Munster, how's his body? Was he telling Porkies about his shoulder or what? What's going on here?
Well, what was the reporter? What did we hear? It was a grade 3 AC. I'll tell you what it was. It was grade 3 carry on. That's what it was, Cappy.
Munster's good for a bit of carry on. That's for sure.
Mate, he's good for a bit of carry on, particularly when he gets a little knock in a game. But he's fine. He's fine. He joined the squad Monday, and he trained yesterday. He trained the full session.
Okay.
So he's good to go.
Yeah. How was Warwick? You went out with the
contest? Yeah, so it was good, mate. Yeah, no. So we try and make a point of visiting one regional city or town in Queensland each series.
Okay.
This time around it was Warwick, and we went out to Warwick. We chose Warwick because of the recent floods that they'd suffered through earlier in the year, much like parts of northern New South Wales. The Darling Downs area, they copped a fair bit of rain earlier this year, and the city was flooded, and the junior footy club as well, the Warwick Cowboys. They were underwater, so they had a lot of their facilities and obviously the grounds were damaged. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity to go out there. We did a bit of fundraising for them on Tuesday night. So that was great. All the locals come in and put their hands in their pockets to raise much needed funds for the town and the junior footy club. And then we got up yesterday morning, and the boys and all the coaches were involved in a street parade. Wasn't great weather. It was really cold and raining, but everyone from Warwick and surrounding towns. I ran into a few people that drove from Roma.
Wow.
It was a 3-4 hour drive. And from other, smaller towns in the region. They drove, at least a couple of hours to come and just see the boys.
How good.
Which was great, and the boys were very appreciative and grateful for, the locals' efforts to come out and see them. But on top of that, it's a nice reminder for the players that these are the people you're representing. These are the people you're playing for. Come next Wednesday. It's bigger than just a game of footy. Okay, when you're out there, your mind's on the job and you're playing a game of rugby league and whatnot. But that's why Origin is so special. Is because you're representing a mass amount of people. Same as New South Wales. But it's a nice reminder that when you look at these people from these particular towns and the challenges that they go through day to day in their life, and the resilience that they show. And the camaraderie that they show for their fellow Queenslanders, they're the type of things that the players need to take into the game on Wednesday night. There's going to be tough periods of the match where they're going to have to be resilient, they're going to have to be mentally tough, and they're going to have to be willing to sacrifice things for their fellow teammate.
Welcome back to the Captain's Run with the great Cameron Smith. We've got best hands thanks to Schnitz. And I just want to thank Schnitz for making the best schnitties in all the land, making my day better every single time I eat one. But this is best hands thanks to Schnitz. Smithy, what have we got here?
Before we move on to that, can be great news. We got some schnitz coming after the show.
Yes.
Big thank you to Tommy.
Thank you, Tom.
Good on you, Tom. Looked after us this week, mate. Thank you. And obviously, big thank you to Schnitties too. Can't wait. But 3-2-1. 1 point this week. Latrell Mitchell, his intercept from Paps's kick.
Wow.
When he kicked it sort of... Well, I think what he's trying to do was, instead of like the Manly players trapping it, he's tried to put it through around knee height. But Kohler just stuck out the left mitt. Took it one-handed and just went, thank you.
See you later.
And ran, 80? 90?
Look, maybe even 200 metres.
Okay. It's a little bit over that. I'm thinking I'm going to split the diff, 85.
Okay, 85 metres.
If you want to check out exactly what meterage it was, go look at the replay. But it was a long way. But he just pinned it.
Mate, how quick is he?
And scored a try, which Manly were on fire.
Except for that last 10 minutes, holy.
Yeah. Did they concede 3 or 4 tries?
I think it was like 4 tries in like literally 5 minutes.
I actually thought I went in the DeLorean back in time. And went, is this the Cowboys all over again? Yeah,
I thought there might be a chance of that. Seriously.
What
happened?
Anyway, they got the 2 points against the Storm, which was a great win. But yeah, Latrell Mitchell, great hands. 2 points. After copying a high shot from Matty Burton, Sione Katoa, planting the ball down in the in-goal area to score for the Sharkies, his second try. Very good. He's a good player, Sione Katoa. Really, really rate him. He's a good, solid winger. But 3 points goes to it was Isaiah Tass. He took awful conditions. Awful conditions. Took a crossfield kick from a Jackson Paulo kick, and then great catch, and then an offload to Jai Arrow in the pouring rain, as I said, to score their second try of the match too. So some awful conditions that teams played in on the weekend, but it doesn't stop them from playing this like unbelievable footy.
Yeah, the skill set has just improved year on year. Seriously, incredible. That was best hands thanks to Schnitz. Bite into golden, delicious handcrafted Schnitz. After the break, we'll wrap up the first hour. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We've got some texts to get to, Smithy. Hey, Cam, when Kofusi was out, was Flegler a consideration? And why was a debutant from Cowboys chosen over Flegler?
Yeah, no, Big Fleg was certainly a consideration. He was part of the first 2 matches. And very close, but Tommy Gilbert, he just has the ability to play both in the ruck and on an edge too. So I think just his diversity, his ability to play a couple of positions for the Maroons, I think that's what got him the opportunity to get one over Flegg there. But he's not far away, Flegg.
Yeah.
Well, he's played Origin before, right? But
yep.
he's not far off this current side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Flegler's development over the last 12 months has been outstanding. His impact for the Brizzy Broncos this year has been great. He's rounded out his game well. He's gotten out the mistakes of penalties and all that kind of stuff. Great offloader. But we're going to head to a break. After the break, we are going to go into a deep dive. Reece Walsh, Brizzy Broncos, Redcliffe Dolphins, New Zealand Warriors, all that stuff. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Make sure to call in 1300 01 1170. Give us a call. Ask us your Origin questions. Text 0457 736 736. Now, huge news dropping yesterday. Now, it dropped over the 48-hour period, but it all got confirmed yesterday. Reece Walsh has signed with the Brisbane Broncos. He will join them in 2023. Now, the reason why it was so controversial was because obviously Reece Walsh still had he had 2 years to run at the Warriors. The second year, so 2024, was a player option in his favour. So 2023, he was still contracted. Now, a couple of months ago, there was a lot of speculation about Reece Walsh potentially going to the Dolphins. Reece Walsh came out and he said, no, I'm committed to go back to New Zealand and play for the Warriors. Now, then he has come out now and circumstances have changed. The Warriors CEO has come out and said that in the last 2 months, circumstances have changed for Reece Walsh, and that is why he can no longer come to New Zealand. The head of football came out and said that Reece Walsh has had a relationship breakdown and that basically his daughter will be in Australia and he doesn't want to leave his daughter.
Yep.
So that is the reason why some may be a bit surprised. Well, how come 2 months ago Reece was, keen to come back, and how come now he wants to stay in Brisbane? Again, this is the head of football's words, not mine, but it was a relationship breakdown and he wants to see his daughter, which I think is a very reasonable thing. I can't expect any man would want to be away from his daughter if he didn't have to be.
Any parent, yep.
And so that is the reason for this all happening. Now, there's a lot of outside noise because the Redcliffe Dolphins offered him a substantial deal, but this hasn't been confirmed, but reports suggest the Warriors and the Redcliffe Dolphins have issues right now.
Right.
And reports are that the Warriors basically said you cannot go, but if you are to be released, it cannot be to the Dolphins. Essentially, has to be to the Broncos.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure exactly what the bad blood is. Now, there is the former head of recruitment was at the Warriors. Now he went to the Dolphins, so there could be a connection there. Maybe Peter O'Sullivan. Now, maybe the Warriors are a bit frustrated that their head of recruitment went to another club and then was trying to recruit their star player to that club. Again, I don't have any facts behind that. That's all pure speculation. So anyway, Reece Walsh signs a deal. Now, the estimated amounts are around $400K a year. Now, there were some floating around. It was $1 million a season. I think that people have misread that.
$1 million a season?
Yeah, which is insanity.
Crazy.
I think
no disrespect to Reece there at all.
No way. He'll get there eventually. He's just not there yet. Now, signs with the Broncos. First of all, thoughts on the Reece Walsh being released from the Warriors, Smithy?
Yeah, well, if it's on those family reasons or compassionate grounds, then that's fair enough. As you just mentioned, Kempy, you cannot question any parent's desire to be where their child is or their children are. And so if he's to stay or to stick with the Warriors, that means he has to move to New Zealand, and spending a lot of time away from his child, then that's not a great place to be in. So I think that's more than fair enough, and it's great that the Warriors have been obliging in that situation, and fair enough too. Like everyone's got their own situation, and understanding that if Reece was to stay, he certainly wouldn't be in a great frame of mind. And he more than likely wouldn't be playing his best football for the club if that was the situation he was in. He was separated from his child. So that's it's for me. That's great by the Warriors to do that, and it's a fair decision by Reece himself. But from the Broncos' point of view, that's a great pickup. And for 400,000 too, I think that's a pretty good buy.
Yeah, if it's accurate that it's around
if it's accurate,
that
number, yep,
for sure. I totally agree. I actually think the Broncos. Let's say Reece was just on the open market and he was going to get his market value. I actually think the Broncos would probably say, look, we just can't afford you, and we have Selwyn Cobbo that's probably going to develop into a fullback. I think the Broncos have looked at it and gone, wow, what an opportunity to get a guy for below market value.
And if as you said, mate, if that price is accurate and they've got him for 400, then they've got a pretty good buy. They've got a really good buy, which is great. And interesting to see what happens there, though, because he goes straight to fullback, you think?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. The Broncos, it seemed like they were grooming Cobbo to become that fullback, whereas Reece Walsh comes in. I can't see him, like Ezra Mam has been outstanding. Adam Reynolds obviously isn't moving. So do you think that the Broncos are going to keep Cobbo on the wing for another couple of years and then maybe move Reece to 6 eventually?
Yeah, I reckn.
Yeah.
That's a possibility because if you look at the situation like Adam Reynolds, they got Adam Reynolds.
Yeah.
When he's on the field, he's going to be playing, he's going to be 7.
Yep.
And I think with the emergence, particularly of Ezra Mam, so he's playing each week. He's getting better and better. They've got a couple of other options there as well to play in the halves. So I think Reece Walsh will take the number 1 jersey, and I think they'll leave Selwyn on ice for a little bit. Just get a few more games under his belt as a winger.
Doesn't need to be rushed, in my opinion.
No, he's a baby. He's still learning, and not just learning the game, like learning how to be a professional.
Yeah.
I see that every day with the Maroons. There's things that he needs to work on, but every young man in his age, in his position, just starting out, they need to learn how to be professional each day with, their timing, with being on time for meetings and all that sort of stuff. Not that he's late.
Yeah.
But, he just scrapes in.
Well,
I shouldn't talk because I used to do that a lot. But I did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Just to stir Craig Bellamy up.
You're actually there an hour earlier. You're just sitting in your car.
Yeah, I would.
But just like for the community listening, when I was young, when the schedule said 8 o'clock, I thought, okay, if I walk in at 8 o'clock, I'm there. And what a lot of young fellas don't realise, and you learn it over the years, is when it says 8 o'clock, it means you better be strapped, ready and raring.
Yes.
So 8 o'clock really means 7:15. Now, look.
That's right, yeah.
You do get your heroes, Corey Parker, that they're playing some bizarre game where they're getting like 2-3 hours earlier and they're like trying to outdo each other. Like, mate, I got here at 4 o'clock. Like,
that's mad.
They get like coffees at like 3 in the morning rolling in with, mate, we don't train till literally 2 in the arvo. What are you doing here? But outside of that, you do learn that, like, okay, if it says 8 o'clock, I need to be there at 7:30. I need to be fully strapped, fully stretched, everything ready to go.
You're ready to start.
100%. On top of that, that's just the entry point of being a professional. Then the next step is, okay, if it says 8 o'clock, I should be here at 7 and I should be stretching from 7 till 7:30 by myself or doing extras or doing video. And so that's a natural thing for any teenage player to learn.
That's right.
It's not just, just one or two. Every teenager goes through it.
Yeah.
So Reece Walsh, where do you see the Broncos right now? Like, do you think that they have officially turned the corner as a club? Or do you think we still have to make sure we keep everything tight, keep on the trajectory?
It's a working process, Kempy. It really is, and you got to stay on top of things. If they've certainly turned the corner from the last couple of seasons.
Oh my
all right,
God.
so they found a way to get some consistency about themselves, and certainly having young forwards there who have found a bit of continuity and stability within that group. When I'm talking about guys like Flegler and Paddy Carrigan, Payne Haas now, who's been doing wonderful things for numerous seasons, but they're all starting to play a bit of footy together. Okay, so they're getting an understanding of each other, and they're getting an understanding of how or what it looks like to be a consistent footballer. Okay, when you first start, you think, I had an 8 or a 9 out of 10 game, then I'm good for a month.
100%.
No.
Yeah.
No, you got to give us an 8 or a 9 every week. That's
Absolutely.
the expectation. So that I think that's where the Broncos are at right now.
Mm.
But the easy thing is to get there. That's the easiest part.
Yeah.
The hardest thing is to stay at that level
Yep.
and maintain that standard of performance, not just week on week, but year on year.
Yeah.
Which what a lot of the great Broncos sides have done in the past.
Because, I mean, it's going to be so the easy way, like Ivan Henjak, the first rugby league camp I ever went to, he said a great saying. He said, bad habits are like a good bet. Easy to get into, hard to get out of. And I was like, man, that's a great little saying there.
Yeah.
Great little saying. But like, for example, this young Broncos side, they have every reason to pat themselves on the back at the end of this year and go, yep, boys, we turned it around.
Absolutely.
It's all good.
Yep.
Let's go away. Pre-season, we won't be as dedicated. We won't be as hungry.
Yep.
That's
the easy thing.
That's the easy thing to do. And they've got every reason to do it. Everyone's patting them on the back. Oh, Paddy Carrigan, you're the next this. And Selwyn Cobbo, you're incredible. But you need to come back with the same fire that you had in this offseason.
And more.
Exactly. 100%. And all the things you learn, all the standards you set for yourselves. So, look, I think the Broncos' future is looking fantastic. I think you can see a real process there now. I think that if you ever wanted to look at the direction of the club, you look at a guy like Paddy Carrigan that seems to be taking the club in the right direction. The Dolphins, another missed opportunity, another huge star. Is Cam Munster going to ask for $2 million soon? A year?
Mate, the way it's going, he could.
Holy!
He could.
Who's on the market for them?
No one.
Literally no one. Everyone is getting locked up long term.
Yep.
Where do you like? They've got a good forward pack for sure, but are the Dolphins in a bit of strife, or how do you feel?
Well, you can't help but think that the old coach, the old Fox, he's got something up his sleeve.
Yeah.
He's always got a plan. He's always scheming.
Yeah.
Not coaching this year. He's been a little bit under the radar. He sort of only pops up when there's sort of like a club announcement or a player signing announcement. Yeah, you just don't know what they're sort of up to. They're slowly sort of chipping away at building their squad and putting something together, but they're still yet to land a big dog. They're still yet to land just that key player, that marquee player that I think they need, to get their club going. And I think Wayne, I think he understands that it's not going to be. They're not going to go out and win a premiership in their first season. If they do that, remarkable.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? And I think that'll be outside of anyone's expectation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. So I think he's thinking a little bit more long term, being a little bit more patient. And you've seen his comments around Cameron Munster. If we're unable to land him in 23, which I think is almost completely
well, Cam came out and said, no, not happening.
And he is like when he came out and said that, I'll be at the Storm in 23. I'll see my contract. Completely believe him. But Wayne Bennett did say if we don't get him in 23, we'll have him in 24.
Wow. I mean, look, a crazy confidence. It's confidence.
It's confidence. Yeah. Yeah, and why not? Like he's been doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So the date's getting closer where they can officially launch like an offer to him.
Wow.
Like November 1, I think it is. So.
He's in the box seat. Cam Munster, he's the best. He's just landed.
Imagine
in
him, the Mad Dog.
Time. Oh, the Mad Dog.
The Mad Dog, he's just sitting there just like...
they don't call him Mad Dog Money for no reason. The money man. Hey, the money man. Look, I think that if they land Cam Munster, I think it alleviates a lot of pressure. But if they don't land Cam, I think it could be a real concern.
Strife.
I personally think the Dolphins should have had much longer than 12 months to build a roster. And I also think the NRL should have given them some massive salary cap exemptions.
Some exemptions. Yeah. Well, it happens in the AFL.
Yeah.
Like when the Gold Coast Suns and the Giants come in, GWS, they were given cap relief and draft picks to help them get up and get underway. And they were GWS have been, over their period of existence have been a fair bit more successful than Gold Coast Suns. But that was the AFL saying, "Here, guys, we'll give you a little bit of a helping hand to get going and be successful. We know how important it is to our competition." I unless there's things happening behind the scenes, which I don't think there would be. If there was, the other clubs would be blowing up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I know playing at a club like Melbourne, I don't think there was any exemptions given down there.
Yeah.
To help a team down in an AFL, like a very foreign rugby league town.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any sort of help going on there. So, look, it is what it is. The one thing about with Reddy, the Dolphins, and if they're there to get Cameron Munster, it won't just improve their footy side. What it will do then is to say any sort of up-and-comers, good ones, and even a couple of established first graders will go, you know what? I might go up there because Cam Munster's there.
Absolutely.
I'll go play beside him.
Now, just back to the Warriors quickly. Some great news. They get challenged Nickel Kluxter. Now, I actually think that, with everything that happened with Reece, Chance is almost the next best thing. We know how good he can be. In the grand final, he was best on ground until he started cramping up with like 10 or 15 to go.
Yep. And
the good thing about Chance is that he is a Kiwi, so it means so much to him to pull that jersey on.
Yeah.
He's going to be there for the long haul because his family is from there. And you can start building around a really good base. Now, just quickly with the New Zealand Warriors, I just think that the NRL could help them. I know we spoke about helping the Dolphins, but I just think that there could be a way the NRL could try to incentivise young Kiwis to stay in New Zealand.
Yep.
And play for the Warriors, because at the moment, all the best talent just gets taken across to Australia. Smithy?
Or rugby. Yeah. I think they tried to. I was reading a story, was it last week or the week before, that I think they tried to get the Warriors had like a development program starting up, and then COVID hit.
Oh, okay.
And it sort of just
fizzled out.
Yeah, it fizzled out because, the team wasn't in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have, these sort of, development programs running with, COVID issues and gatherings and whatnot. So it's just sort of fizzled out. And I think we spoke about it on our show last week maybe, or the week before, talking about just the presence of the team. Like they've had no presence in New Zealand for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to, rugby league's going to take a hit there because, young boys and girls, they can't see their team playing live. They don't go out to the ground. They can't go out and do junior football club, visits. They can't be in and around the community. And as you said, incentivising, young boys and girls to pick up a rugby league footy and go and join up at a junior rugby league club.
Yeah.
When you don't have sort of contact, or you don't see your team face to face, you sort of it almost is forgotten about. And although it's on tally and there's a lot of it's accessible now through tablets and digital stuff and your phones and whatnot, but it's still not the same as seeing those players in the flesh and blood.
Absolutely.
You think back to when you were a kid, mate, and you like Darren Lockyer walked past you, or Gordon Tallis, or whoever it was that you followed as a team or as players. You walked away from it thinking, wow, I'd love to be like them one day.
Oh, I mean, I remember one of my first interactions with a first grader was the great Petros Sivanasiva.
Yeah.
And he, just speaking to him and Wayne, they were going, Wayne was like, look, pretty skinny, but we'll beef you up. You'll be all right. And I was around like 72 kilos, and Petro said the same thing.
Yeah.
So it is so important. We're going to head to a break. After the break, we've got plenty more show. We've got Nikora re-signing. We've got a previewing of the round and Latrell Mitchell. We will be speaking to Latrell Mitchell later in the show, so stay tuned. See you on the other side. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Smithy and myself. Time to break down which young players are climbing up the Bailey ladder. Worksite trusted for over 60 years. That is 6 decades of trust of the worksite. Smithy, what do we got this week?
Righto, we got our 3 nominations like we do every week for the Bailey Ladders segment. Number 1, Tolatau Kohler again. Mentioned him a little bit earlier for these best hands, but against the Storm, a 19-year-old, he had 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 7 tackle busts, and ran for over 200 metres. He was outstanding. Great to see him in open space.
Mate, how good.
Finally.
How good.
Just pinned him and just looked unbelievable. Number 2, Egan Butcher. 21-year-old, ran for over 130 metres, had 1 try assist, a line break assist, and made 25 tackles in just 40 minutes against the Panthers. And I'll tell you what, the Roosters, pretty impressed by them.
They looked good, and they looked good against the Eels the week before, the game before as well.
Yeah, really impressed with the way they took it to Penrith.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple of, or not maybe, there was a couple of dubious refereeing decisions in that game, which possibly could have cost them a victory, particularly that one just before half-time, which allowed Viliami Kikau to go down and score.
And what they won by 6 points, 8 points?
Oh, a bit more. Yeah, a bit more.
8 points, I think.
They scored a couple late tries, Penrith, but that one just before half-time, they give them a little bit of momentum going in the second half. But number 3, and this young man, he has been playing extremely well all year, in my opinion. He's one of the standouts, one of the shining lights for Newcastle this season. Dominic Young.
Yeah.
As I said, only 20. He had 3 tries, ran for over 300 metres, 1 line break, 6 tackle breaks against the Titans, who, oh, goodness me, they were disappointing.
Oh, mate, what's going on, Smithy?
Disappointing. Well, what about this? So Dom Young, he had 3. Edric Lee, 5.
Wow.
5.
That's 8 tries while you're on the sting, the pick and swing.
Imagine that. Mate, he could have played on the weekend. If something happened with a couple of the, Murray Tuolungi and Selwyn, mate, Edric Lee.
Get him in there.
Get him in.
Get the flying winger.
Get him back.
That was thanks to Bailey Ladders bringing safety and efficiency to the worksite for over 60 years. After the news, we're going to discuss the controversial 6 again rule and Luke Brooks' comments yesterday. Give us a text. Text in 0457 736 736. Text in. Let us know your thoughts about the 6 again rule. Should it change? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Has the game gotten better because of it, the 6 again rule? We want to hear your thoughts. See you after the break. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Now, the 6 again rule, Smithy. The 6 again rule.
Yep.
On the weekend, the Dragons versus the Raiders. And basically, Ben Hunt, being the veteran that he is, the game's on the line.
Yep. 6 seconds to go.
6 seconds to go. He decides to flop on top of a tackle, and then he is offside after that. And the ref gives away a 6 again and then ends the match. Now, it is my understanding that the ref has the authority to be able to call a penalty or a 6 again. So he can say, instead of just giving a 6 again, I'm going to call a penalty here. The game was 12-10 at the time, Dragons to Raiders.
Yep.
So I think everyone can agree that they should have been given a penalty.
Yep.
And I think, I like the thinking behind the 6 again rule, and I do believe that we're in a good balance of 6 again plus penalties in your own half. My only concern at the moment with the 6 again, Smithy, is that so often a ref will just go, boom, 6 again. And then we don't really know, we don't know how consistent it is. We can't really go back and look at it. The game moves on really quickly. I think you could go back to Origin Game 2 and look at a few of the 6 agains, and they just kind of happen, and then it's just like whatever.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the 6 again rule?
Hate it.
Wow.
Hate it.
Just go back, you reckon?
And that might be, some people might think, mate, you played the game. You started playing a long time ago, and you're just an old fella to get with the times. I don't like it at all.
Well, you won the comp though when it was in.
Yeah, well, that's right. And we made adjustments. We weren't great at it to start with. We didn't adapt to the rule as quickly as some other teams, but we found a way. And when you have a coach like Craig Bellamy, putting together a game plan, you're going to pick things up pretty quickly and adapt to rule changes. So. We did some good things that year in the first year of it. But I think now there's too many questionable decisions made. And again, I'm not blaming referees. I'm not blaming referees. I'm not blaming players. I'm not blaming coaches. It's the game. Get rid of it. It's just like, why did we do it? To speed the game up. And what was wrong with it before? What was wrong with it before? And then you get in a situation like this where there's so much confusion, and as I said, that's not a black and white rule. That's a referee's discretion.
Yeah.
Well, don't give the referee the discretion in that instance. It's a penalty or it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. He's made his decision, right? He waved his hand. There was 6 to go. Now all the pressure gets lumped on him for a rule that was introduced by the NRL.
Yeah.
So the pressure should be on the NRL, not the referees.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I just think there's way too much grey area surrounding a 6 to go rule. Have a look at Game 2 Origin. That's why Felice Kafusi got 10 in the bin. Multiple 6 to goes.
Yeah.
And then a penalty, and then his indiscretion on the play of the ball, which I'm not questioning. He fell asleep on.
Yeah, it was definitely an indiscretion.
It definitely was.
Yep.
That should have been a penalty or a 6 to go, but it was the lead up to that tackle which forced him to go into the sin bin. I just think it's a penalty or it's not.
Yeah.
Don't worry about positions on the field. Have a look how much confusion there is now with referees when teams are coming off their own try line. They're in and around that 40-metre zone.
Yeah.
Where so if there's an infringement inside your own 40, it's a penalty, and then outside of your own 40, it's a set restart. Okay, I've seen so many times this year where once that there's a rule within a rule where they blow a penalty when it should be a set restart, and they have a set restart when it should be a penalty, and the game gets stopped. Yeah. Because the bunker intervenes. Oh, mate, you should have blown a penalty there, or that should have been a set restart. Referee then goes, oh, hang on, come back here. Actually, go back to that mark. That should have been a play of the ball, or actually, no, that's a penalty. Now, either take a tap or kick for touch.
Yeah.
There's just, I just don't like it at all. Get rid of it. If there's an infringement in the ruck, if markers are not square, if someone leaves the line early, blow a penalty. Ask the Raiders. Ask the Raiders what they'd prefer in that situation.
Mate.
Because I'll tell you what, teams understand. Okay, so if they're up by 1 point or 2 points in the dying moments of a match, and they're defending in their own half, okay, so the opposition are on the attack, they've got an opportunity to score, they will lie in the tackle.
Yeah.
They will lie in the tackle knowing that the referee will just have a set restart. They're happy to defend extra couple of tackles to see the match out.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, and I remember when I was playing, if you're up by 1 or 2 points in the dying moments of a match, and you know if you stay in the ruck too long,
penalty,
or you're not square at marker and you give away a penalty, you could cost your team the game.
Yeah.
Because as soon as there's a penalty blown, the opposition are just pointing to the sticks. We'll take 2, thanks, sir.
Well, Benny Hunt's not lying in the ruck if it's a penalty.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, there's no way.
He's in front of the sticks. There's no way he's jumping on, like, it was a dead set flop. Okay, and that's why there was a set restart given. I personally believe he was square at marker. Now, that's always going to be up for debate. I personally believe he was square when the ball was played.
Yep.
And he went pretty hard from marker, which some people may think, he wasn't square. That's why he got out and made that tackle. But I believe when the ball was played, when the ball went behind the ball carrier's foot, he was square. And which is why the referee just called time after he made that tackle. But take away the confusion around it. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. There was nothing wrong with the game before the 6 again rule come in.
Could you see a world where, because like the concern with, the reason why the 6 again was brought in was because some teams on their line would just go, you know what, bomb. We'll just give away set restart after set restart, and basically just slow the game down so much that it's almost hard to get momentum. Do you think that to combat that without the 6 agains, you could be more willing to go, all right, if you give 3 penalties away, 10 in the bin or 5 in the bin or something
I'm
like
all
that?
for that.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Stop, because then, if they want to give 1 or 2 away to a bit of gamesmanship.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, I'm absolutely. And I think over a period of time there, referees were reluctant to put people in the bin. But now that we've got the set restart rule in, we've started sending guys to the bin.
Yeah.
Just take that 6 again rule out, bring penalties back. And if you have multiple penalties, okay, in that area in particular, which you're saying the reason why they brought it in, put someone in the bin.
Yeah.
You put someone in the bin, they'll stop doing it. I'm telling you.
And I think also we have kind of set a new standard for, the wrestle. Like, we all kind of agree that the wrestle, you can't do it as much anymore. So, like, I think, let's say, for example, I don't mind the 6 again rule in attacking. I can see arguments for both sides, but let's just assume that we got rid of it. I don't, like, some people may be scared, we're going to go back to the pace that we had a few years ago. But I think that if the refs just make it really clear, like, if you lay in the ruck, you're getting a penalty straight away.
Yeah.
I think it would, the speed of the play of the ball wouldn't actually suffer that much.
Well, I got a couple of things to come back against the people saying, well, we'll just go back to wrestling and how the wrestling ruined the game. That's why I like the 6 go. Have they stopped wrestling?
You still see wrestle all the time.
That's why there are set restarts. Have they stopped wrestling because the set restarts come in? The answer is no, they haven't. That's why we see set restarts every game we play due to wrestling.
Yeah.
And how about this? And instead of attacking teams or ball carriers relying on the referee to give them a set restart because defenders are laying in the ruck, how about you take the initiative to actually run hard and fight to play the ball?
Yeah.
And get up quickly.
Yeah, and win the ruck.
How about you try and win it rather than relying on a referee to say, oh, look, defenders are lying in the ruck. Unfortunately, defence is half of our game. It's 50-50. And if you look at all the sides that have been successful over the past, you can look at the last 20 years. They've been good defensive teams that work hard at their defensive systems, their defensive techniques at training, and they put time into it. They value that part of the game.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to help the teams that don't see that as an important part of their game and don't put any time into it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
look, it's
I've got a pretty strong opinion on that. But anyway,
it's really interesting. We've got a bunch of texts here. We've got some people saying, "Yep, let's get rid of it." Other texts saying, "Nah, we'll go back to old slow footy." So yeah, keep texting in, guys. Love to hear your thoughts on the 6 again rule. We're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to discuss Luke Brooks' recent comments about the West Tigers, which is really interesting. Really interesting comments. So make sure to text in 0457 736 736, or you can give us a call, 1300 01 1170, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Now, Luke Brooks he's come out and been quite vocal recently. As we all know, West Tigers seem to have a lot of information come out of that club about their inner workings, which is surprising. The best clubs usually are watertight. But we've got the audio here. If we could just have a listen to Luke Brooks' comments on West Tigers.
Stuff sort of coming out from the club that it's pretty disappointing that people in the clubs tend to leak a fair bit, and obviously without myself being spoken to and seeing it in the news was pretty frustrating, but it was all cleared up, and in the end I was playing, so it was all a bit of a storm in a teacup, I guess. Noddy was good with that, and he wanted to talk to me first, and I guess that was the frustrating thing, that it came out through the media. But myself, there was never really discussions about dropping me, but I guess it was more about where I can fix my game and where I can get better. It does get frustrating, but I guess it's sort of a part of it. In my position, when you're going good, the halves get the raps. When you're going bad, it's on the halves. It does get frustrating because sometimes you get blamed for it, and sometimes I feel like I've played a decent game. It's a part of it, and I sort of learned to deal with it, and I'm sort of used to it now. It's a big decision for me, and I've got to have a think about
10 seconds, guys.
the time. I probably haven't put myself first with these decisions. Yeah, when the time comes, I'm going to sit down and probably be selfish with my decision and do what's best for me.
Wow, there he is, Luke Brooks. Mate,
strong comments.
Strong comments, and you know what? I agree with him.
Good on him.
I think that it is crazy that so much information seems to come out of the West Tigers. If your goal is to have your players playing at the best of their ability and mentally they need to be at 100% to do that, how is leaking things helping that at all?
No.
All it seems to be doing is helping yourself in whatever agenda that you want to have happen. It doesn't seem to be helping players one bit. Smithy, thoughts on his comments?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like as a player, that would be extremely disappointing when news is leaked to the media that you haven't been spoken to about, or things haven't been mentioned to you. And it's interesting to hear in that interview that he did. He mentioned the word frustrating or frustrated several times. So that's not a great position to be in as a player, and particularly a key position player like he plays in the number 7 jersey. So that can't be a positive for West Tigers moving forward. You know, talking about him being frustrated right now in the position that he's in, and then also going on to say that he's going to make the decision that he makes now. He's going to be selfish about that. He's not going to take anything into account other than what's best for him. And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. He's been knocked around a fair bit, Brooksy, this year. But he's a wonderful player, and he just needs to when he has that confidence and when he's not playing, I guess, like he said, with frustration, he's not taking that onto the field. He's a wonderful player. Like he wasn't he the halfback of the year?
Yeah, 2018, I think.
Picked that up like not that long ago. So we all know that he's a great footballer. He just needs to find that good feeling again.
Do you think? And again, it's pure speculation, but reading between the lines when he said, "I'm going to be selfish on my next decision," that sounded to me like he may have wanted to leave the club before, but the club has convinced him, no, stay. Because it's like, when you look at his contract, it's a massive, he's getting a massive wicket.
Yes.
So it's like, well, if you're saying I'm going to be selfish going forward, it seems more like you would be willing to leave because...
Well, that's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he's going to put his footy side of things first because there were reports that did come out in the off-season that Newcastle Knights thought they had him. And then the Tigers kind of came in and said, no, we want you at the club to stay. Really interesting from Brooks. And look, there's going to be some people that are like, mate, you're not playing well, who, earn your pay packet and all that kind of stuff before you talk about the admin. But it's also like, regardless of how he's playing, you cannot deny his effort, Luke Brooks. So he's trying his heart out. He deserves to be at a working environment where stuff isn't being leaked. Yep. All the players do, not just Luke Brooks, but every single player at the Tigers, in my opinion, deserves to work in an environment where they can trust the people that are their bosses. It's very hard to be working in an environment where you don't feel like you trust your bosses or they're not on your side. They've got different... So, yeah, really interesting comments. I liked it from Brooksy, and I personally think that Brooksy, his next contract, I wouldn't even worry about the money side of things. No. All I would be considering is where can I go to fulfill my incredible potential that everyone sees.
When you play your best footy.
Where can I play my best footy? Yeah. Who cares about what contract, how much I'm on? You've earned your good wicket. You've had your big contract. Now I think it's about, as you said, as it seems that Brooks is saying, putting himself first and playing some good footy.
Well, there's no doubt he'll have to do that. He'll have to take a pay cut to go to another club where he can play his best footy. What club would that be, though?
Really interesting. Really interesting. I can see him at the Newey Knights. I can see. Oh man, it's
Dolphins.
Yeah, maybe is that too much pressure? A whole new club on his shoulders?
Possibly.
It depends. Like if they got Munster and then he signed for unders or something.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah, but Newey Knights, I think he might fit there all right. Yeah, look, if I'd sat down and thought about it, I think there'd be a few clubs. I mean, even the Canberra Raiders right now. Oh, they got Fogarty. Sorry, they got Fogarty. But I was going to say Brooks with Whiten would be okay. Maybe. But look, really interesting to hear. Really interesting to hear. Hopefully, West Tigers sort themselves out sooner rather than later because it seems so disappointing that only a couple months ago it looked like they were turning a corner.
Yeah, we've spoken about that a couple times.
Yeah, and it's just all falling apart.
And it just seems like every week there's something else as well, which can't be good for anyone involved in that footy club. When
I was at the Broncos, and we were lucky, obviously, but we didn't even know what was going on in the admin, and that's what you want. They did their job so well that you didn't hear about it.
Yep.
We're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to wrap up the second hour, but stay tuned. Latrell Mitchell will be joining us later in the show. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Got a few texts here, Smithy.
Yes, mate. What do we got?
Tuning in from Perisher, watching my kids' ski lessons. Just one schnitz and a skewy of bloke away from a perfect day, Rob.
Oh, good on you, Rob.
That does sound like the perfect day.
Tuning into the Captain's Run from the ski fields of Perisher.
What a legend. What an absolute legend. We've got more questions. Would a rule where no 6 agains in the final 10 minutes work? I think that might be a bit too confusing. Look, we're going to head to a break, guys. After the break, we've still got Latrell Mitchell on the show. We've still got to preview the round. We've got plenty to talk about. Stick around and we'll see you on the other side.
If you take the set restart rule out of it, then the Raiders get 2 points because it's just a penalty. And you can see clearly Ben Hunt knows the rules. He's got no right being involved in that tackle. He's nowhere near the tackle when it's initiated, when it's first initiated. He then runs in because he understands that there's only 6 seconds left on the clock, and he just jumps in there knowing that the referee's going to give a six again here. He's not going to penalise me. So that's my point. I'm trying to help the fans out who are frustrated by this set restart rule by saying, take it out of the referee's hands. Don't give them the option to give a 6 again. In that instance, without a 6 again rule, that's a penalty every day of the week, and the Raiders kick a penalty goal.
Dom, are you saying basically? Sorry, Dom. Are you saying basically at any point on the field, the captain should have the option to go, nah, we want the penalty? Is that what you kind of mean?
I would make it any point because I don't like the idea of having to be over a certain line of the field, right? But what I don't believe a captain or a team that gets a 6 again, say we're on the halfway, is going to bother taking the risk to take a 2 point or to kick the touch or anything. I think the 6 again is a good flow for most of the field, except for at that dying stage of the game. When you're in that position, that I believe then a captain would be like, no, we need this right now. I just don't think it should be up to the referee to be thinking about what that team wants at that period of the game. There's already a lot of stuff going through their mind.
Yeah, that's right, mate. And that's exactly why I'm saying to you, I agree with you fully there, Dom. I think the referees have way too much to think about right now. There's so many new rule introductions and so many different interpretations of what's a penalty, what's a set restart. And if you just take that out of their hands and any indiscretion or infringement, it's just a straight penalty. So if you think about, the sharpshooters of the NRL, say like an Adam Reynolds or a Nathan Cleary, let's just say Penrith are down by 1 point or 2 points and there's 6 seconds to go and someone decides to lay in on a tackle longer and they're 40 metres out from goal. I'd still back Nathan Cleary to kick a goal from 40 out.
For sure.
But they won't give a penalty. It'll be a 6 to go because of the field position. Okay, so take the.
So giving it to the captain, then they can do that.
Yeah. Well, I think it just again.
You know what I mean?
I completely understand what you're saying there, Dom. But that's just another thing that the game needs to deal with. Another thing that the referee has to think about. Just give it a straight penalty, mate. A straight penalty, and then the team has the option of what they want to do.
Yeah, because if you give the captain he can come in at any time and be like, oh no, I want a penalty. It'll slow the game down drastically. Then the ref also has to be watching, where's the captain? Is he coming? And then you're 2 tackles down. So it will be tough. But what we do, I definitely get your sentiment, bro. Definitely get your sentiment. Thanks so much for calling, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate.
Oh, you Dom.
There he is, the great Dom. He's got a good point. How do we make it so the refs don't have to, make those decisions? How can we help it so the refs who already have so much going on can just make it easier? Great point. Great point. We've also got Pedro the Rooster on the line. Pedro, you there, mate?
Morning, boys. How you going?
Good, mate. What do you got for us?
I've got a couple of points on the Tigers situation. Jack Gibson always said that success started in the front office. Both of you guys from really strong clubs, that there was rarely a leak. And I want to use the Roosters as an example as well. The 2018 Grand Final, Cam, did you have any idea? Nobody knew whether Cooper was going to be running out.
No,
I found that fascinating.
No, absolutely right. They were very tight-lipped around that, and so they should be, particularly for such a big game. And so no one really knew whether Cooper was going to take the field or not. Myself personally, I think I had a really strong feeling that he was going to play. I just knowing the type of player that Cooper is, and I've seen him play through many injuries throughout his career with the Melbourne Storm. So, but you're right. There was no information at all coming out of the Roosters camp whether he was going to play or not, and to the point where there was no information from training sessions, no information or vision from training sessions that he would be there. So yeah, that just shows that it can be done. It can be done. You just got to want to
wonder
not.
what sort of effect it is having on the Tigers with that sort of thing happening non-stop.
Yep.
So yeah, very interesting. The second point was Sam Walker being in the Origin camp. Cam, what sort of effect do you reckon that's going to have on fast-tracking his game? I mean, he's just a natural footballer.
Yeah.
What sort of effect will it come back when he comes back to clubland?
Yeah, well, I'd like to think that it'll make him gain some confidence in himself and some self-belief, because talking with coaches and knowing from experience, when I first come into an Origin camp, when I come back to clubland, I felt a lot more confident within myself, because I've trained with the best players in the competition. Things happen a lot faster. The intensity's higher, more consistently higher. So I think when you go back to clubland, everything seems to be a little bit slower, so you feel a lot more comfortable. So I think, for Sam, and I think it's a big reason why he's in there right now, not only just because he's on the radar as a future Maroons player, it's just to try and help him build some self-belief, and he's got plenty of it now, but just to try and make that even stronger, help him grow even more confident within himself as a player and as a person, and just to give him a bit of an insight into what Origin's all about. So I think, I'd like to think that you see a Sam Walker return back to the Roosters as a much more confident half.
Good. Thanks, boys.
Good on you, Pedro.
Thanks, Pedro. There he is, the great Pedro the Rooster. He's a regular, Pedro.
Yeah, we love Pedro.
We love Pedro. Thanks, mate. You know what? That was a hole-in-one. He absolutely bombed that. He bombed it.
He did, mate. With what he bombed it with? The tailor-made TP5. And what is it, Kempy? It's
Mate.
the ball that beats the number one ball in golf,
It's the ball that beats the number one ball.
which is,
Now the number two because it's number one.
yeah.
TP5,
That's right.
tailor-made TP5, the ball that beats the number one ball in golf. Absolutely fantastic call from Pedro the Rooster.
Yes.
That was a hole-in-one. That was a birdie. That was all the good stuff that golfing does. I can't wait to play on the weekend. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to
Get
go for
amongst it.
18.
Yep.
Go for 18.
Make sure you use TP5, please.
I will definitely
the
be using
only ball
TP5.
you should be using.
Absolutely. Now let's get on to some round preview. The Sharkies versus the Storm tonight, 7:50.
You know what? It's the game of the round.
Game of the round.
Thanks to Suncorp. Get award-winning car insurance with Suncorp.
How good. The game of the round thanks to Suncorp. I actually, I've been with Suncorp for quite a while, actually.
There you
So, mate, good stuff. Very good, very
Looked
good
after you?
company. Looked after me. Of course they looked after me.
Customer
It's Suncorp.
service?
Of course they did.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Game of the round brought to you by Suncorp. Cronulla Sharks versus the Melbourne Storm. The Sharks team news. Nico Hines and Toby Rudolph are returning positive COVID tests. Trindle comes in at halfback. Fafita starts at prop. And Braden Hamlin-Hueli is the new man on the bench returning from injury. A huge in for the Sharkies. Sharks are without Talakai. And that is replaced by Connor Tracy. And Nico Hines has decided to stay in Sydney to play for the Sharks. Well, he was.
He wanted to, yeah.
He wanted to. Now, Melbourne Storm. Dean Eremaya comes in on the wing. Nick Meaney moves to 5'8". Jaden Nikorima dropping to 18th man. Brandon Smith will start at hooker with Harry Grant at Origin duty. With Josh King at lock. Nelson Asofa Solomona starting at prop. Tyron Wishart and Jordan Grant are the new faces on the bench.
Yeah, good decision to start Big Nelson. I thought he was one of Storm's best. I think he and Brandon Smith were standouts.
Yes.
For Melbourne, who were very un-Storm-like, and I know that's a thing that they're branded with when they don't win. Oh, very un-Storm-like, but they were. They particularly in defence. They just Manly were breaking tackles and making line breaks and just poking their nose through willy-nilly, really. Last week at Four Pines Park.
Where did the Storm sit for you right now? You know, because last year they had that record-breaking year, and then they got to the main games, the big games, and they struggled. And it seems like this year as well, they've kind of struggled in the big games.
Yeah, well, I think they've had a few more injury issues this time around. So they're dealing with that. And I just think after their sort of best 18 or 19, I think that's what's being tested this year is the depth of the squad, which is in the past been a really strong part of the club. And yeah, I think, well, the other night, look, not making excuses for Melbourne because that's not the type of club that they are, and certainly not the type of team or the coach, the way they go about their business. But they had a huge chunk of their lineup were either returning from New Zealand, they played in a test match against Tonga, or returning from Perth.
Yep.
So those players that returned to play Origin, that was a 4-day turnaround.
Wow.
And I know Manly had Daly Cherry-Evans and Jakey Trebojevic in that as well. So like I'm saying, it's no excuse, but it would have been a pretty tough thing to do. I think they had 5 Kiwis.
Wow.
From that test match, backing up as well. But, I think listening to Craig Bellamy's comments after the game, he was extremely disappointed with the way their attitude was towards their defence. He said soft. Some of the tries were just
because Manly's
completely soft.
Manly's starting completion rate was like 2 sets out of the first 7.
Well, yeah, they
were up 14 points.
Hamoli Olakuatu, I think the first 3 touches he had, he dropped the ball. It was just they were less than 50% completion rate in the first 15 minutes, something like that.
Even lower. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, and they just went bang, 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 and just piled on points, unanswered. Well, Storm hit back a little bit early in the game, and then it wasn't until the last 10 minutes where they picked up 4 tries to make the score quite respectable. But there was no reflection at all of the way that they played.
Also, Try July starts tonight. $5,000 gets donated to the Red Cross Appeal for Tonga's tsunami recovery and New South Wales and Queensland floods. A fantastic initiative, that is. Fantastic. I'm pretty sure every try that's scored, it's $5,000.
Yeah, I think you need to have a try celebration, though. Is that right?
Yes, okay. Yes, you got to celebrate.
Did you ever have a try celebration?
No, never had a try
carry
celebration. No, look, there was one time I did carry on. There was one time. And it was my return game for the Broncos after I came back for the Warriors. And I scored the match winner against the Cowboys, round 1, 75th minute. And I just gave a jumper pump. That's it.
I just grabbed
just to grab the jumper, did a bit of that's it.
Okay.
So I've never done anything like.
What about any layering up before you scored?
No.
You would have scored a couple of runaways.
Never layered up before I scored.
Like any like these ones?
No,
just
never.
Waving the finger?
I would get annihilated in the change room if I did that. I got annihilated for doing these ones.
Really?
Yes. That's how it was like, mate. You put the ball down, you get back to halfway and you bloody do your job.
Yeah.
That's what it was like back then anyway.
Okay.
So Try July starts tonight. Now with the Sharkies. Look, I thought they were pretty good last week, and it looked like they've gotten back on track. They're in the top 4.
Against the Doggies?
Yeah, they're in the top 4. So I think Nico Hines and Rudolph being out, though, is a bridge too far for them at the moment, especially with the Melbourne Storm that's going to want to bounce back.
Yep. I think, again, they're missing their main man again, 2 weeks in a row, Cam Munster. I'm talking about the Storm here, obviously. But, yeah, I think when you take a guy like Nico Hines, who's been so instrumental for the Sharkies this year. Sifa Talakai as well.
Yeah.
He's away with the Blues. Toby Rudolph, I think, is another one that's a big out for him. Look, if Storm turn up and play the way they did last week, then Sharks have every chance, particularly at home. But I'm predicting that you'll be a very different performance by the Melbourne Storm this week compared to last week, and they would have had a pretty stern talking to from Craig Bellamy when they returned home from playing Manly last week. So I'm tipping Melbourne to win this one. A little bit of feeling between these two clubs.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly at this ground.
Yes. I mean, you've got some good memories at this ground. Some great memories at this ground. That was Game of the Round thanks to Suncorp Car Insurance, winner of CanStar's Outstanding Claims Award. 7 years in a row. That's right. 7 years in a row, Suncorp Car Insurance has won the CanStar's Outstanding Claims Award. We're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to preview the round, plus Latrell Mitchell joins us. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Holy schnitz. Honestly, the best schnitties in all the game. I got a message, the sneeze are on the way. But these are our moments where we yelled, holy schnitz at the TV. My nomination, the Melbourne Storm scoring 4 tries in 5.5 minutes and nearly winning against Manly. I yelled, holy schnitz, as it was happening, Smithy.
What do you reckon Desi Hasler yelled?
Oh, mate.
Bit more than that?
Bit more than that. But he could have used a bit of a schnitzel after that. Relax him. Good schnitty. Tell you what. Mate, would have calmed him right down.
Yeah, it would have made him feel a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Oh, geez. I reckon, I was in the commentary box a couple of down from Desi. I reckon I heard him from there. And they're meant to be soundproof.
Mate, I tell you what, he was just yelling so loud he broke the sound barrier.
I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. There was a bit of yelling from the other coach's box too earlier in the match. But anyway, 2 great coaches. That was a holy schnitz moment. Mine was the return of the New Zealand Warriors to Mount Smart Stadium. Now you've played at this ground. You know what the atmosphere is like there with a bumper crowd.
Yeah,
26,000 sold out.
So good.
26,000 fans packed out Mount Smart Stadium to welcome the Warriors back for their first game back in New Zealand since 2019.
Wow.
What great pictures too.
Mate, tingles.
Even before the game, like when the Warriors first arrived back in New Zealand, like the reception they had there from the fans, there was some traditional dances there, the Māori dancers. Quite emotional too, like watching some of the pictures of the players and the people in the stands, like they were brought to tears. So just wonderful pictures, wonderful moment for all the Warriors fans and rugby league fans in New Zealand to have their team back there playing live in front of them, and great for the players and the club as well.
Yeah,
Just
running
really
out Mount Smart Stadium.
Yeah,
it's a different vibe. Like, don't get me wrong, Suncorp is probably my favourite, but Mount Smart's vibe, it's like you hear the drums, you're running through that tunnel.
I was going to bring that up. What's that like?
Mate, it's so good. The boys are yipping and yahooing as you're running through the tunnel, so it's all echoing. It's a very different vibe. The drums are going all the time. It's so cool. I like the New Zealand Warriors as a club. The club is such a family-orientated club. It was a really good club to be a part of.
Yeah.
I
heard the same opinion from Ryan Hoffman, who I played with at Storm, and he played it there. Also Nathan Friend.
Yes, Friendy.
As well. He said he had big raps on the club and his time there as well. They loved it. They loved it. Did you have an opportunity to be as the team based on the Eastern stand? Or no, that wasn't in when you played there? Because I know that's where because when you're a visiting team, you run out from under the on the western side in the tunnel, like I said, the main tunnel. The Warriors now come out from the other side. That's where their lockers are set up on the other side.
Yeah, I think. Oh man, I can't even remember, to be honest.
Even that for an opposing team coming over, that's a little bit like it throws you a little bit intimidating. You're like, what are they doing over there? You don't sort of see anyone before the game, and the first time you see like a Warriors player is when they run out from that side, and you're just like, oh, here we go.
So we always ran off from the reserve grade paddock. Where where
you warm up.
Yeah, where you warm up. So we would come straight and we would like run out that way, pretty sure. So, mate, great experience. Now, we're going to head to a break. After the break, we have superstar Latrell Mitchell joining us. Going to talk about all things Origin, all things Latrell. So stay tuned for a chat with Latrell Mitchell. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with the great Cameron Smith. But I've also got another great man on the line. I've got Latrell Mitchell. How you going, brother?
How you going, bloke?
Big fella. I mean, it's been a big week for you. It's always a big week for the big fella. But, talk us through the decision to rule yourself out, because early in the week it seemed like you were pretty keen to play, and then obviously you played and you played really well. Talk us through this decision.
It was definitely a hard decision. I love the game of Origin, and Cam knows what spirit and what it takes to get ready for an Origin, and and I just thought to myself,
oh no, I think we've lost him.
Oh no, he's back.
He's back.
You got me, boys.
Yeah, we got him. Gotcha.
Oh shit! What am I saying? all I was pretty much saying is that, look, it was a hard decision. I just didn't want to, put myself in to compromise anything that I've just, I've obviously recently gone over to America and done what I've done. And it was a hard decision. I wanted to play. I want to be there. And obviously I want to represent in the blue. And Cam, you'd know, bro, like turning up for that game is, you've got to be all in. And,
that's it.
I just thought for me to be me, I had to invest back into the club and put my, the front foot forward and just get on the top of it. And then obviously there hasn't been any more talk, so I shut the headlines down. I like I said, it was the hardest decision I've had to make, and I really wanted to play. But then again, I had to think about what personally Latrell Mitchell, is he going to play the rest of the season if he plays this game Origin, or does he just sit out, let the boys do what they've been doing, and let Burton and Jackie and Christian do what they do? So that was that's me, bro. So that's why.
Yeah, big decision, mate. I completely get what you're saying about having to make that decision. Whether you got to be 100% in and ready to go. The last thing you want to do is say, "Yep, I'm good." After one match, what is it, mate? In what 3 months, and then turn up with a Blues jersey and get out there and you go, actually, you know what? I'm not quite up to Origin standard at the moment. And what you're doing there is, you're not just letting yourself down, mate. You're letting your whole state down. So that, mate, I think it's a big call that you've made.
Yeah, and you know what, mate? You put that jersey on, and you go out with your brothers. You want to be there for everybody. You don't let them down. That's the type of person I am, and just having that, them characters around me, like your boy Cordoners and them leaders that didn't want to let their teammates down, but knew that when it was the right time to give in, you had to, so you didn't. Let your team down, didn't let your state down, and you worked hard for it. And like I said, mentally, I've built the tolerance now to be able to get myself mentally prepared, but physically, I don't reckon it would have been there. So that's why I was sort of had to make that decision on the spot, and it was a long decision as well. I was talking to the missus all week about it, and I was thinking if I play, at least come back decent, and then show people that I'm actually up for it. I'm just going to shut the talk down because I know I still wasn't 100%. So that's. Yeah, it took me, 2 to 3 weeks to sort of think about, what happened on Saturday night last week.
And so, what do you think? Because I feel like a couple of years ago, you probably wouldn't have had. A few years ago, you probably may not have had the experience to know sometimes it's actually better to take a step back than forward. You know what I mean? What's taught you that over the last few years?
It's just maturity, I guess. You like as an 18-year-old, you can bounce back from. I've done a sinus most of the week, and you're not playing next. I feel like, bullshit, I want my matchy, you know what I mean?
The matchy.
You know what I mean? And you just jump straight on board, get everything sorted, and you bounce back quick. But now it's just it takes a bit longer. I've learned a lot about my body and what I need to do, and obviously, it's gradually just taking things, step by step and learning to, because I know for me, going over to America, it was teaching me a lot of things. Obviously, Bill Knowles is a great lad and he knows what he's talking about. And, athletes can, pretty much fuck up quick, you know what I mean? So just about slowing that up and showing that, my body needs to, actually learn how to brake, how to stop, how to get in positions, how to get out before I can go fast. And, the doco's going to explain a lot of stuff around, me being real slow and getting frustrated with because I'm such a, I know I'm a power athlete and I can go fast and everything comes natural when I'm fast, but slowing it right down, getting the processes right, getting strong in a position where it's a lot slower. You can see the frustration built, but that's just the whole maturity, I guess, coming into NRL and then and gradually just growing into the leader, into the person I am, finding myself, it's just rugby league. It's the beauty of rugby league. Also, it brings the best out of people.
Hey mate, so get off the Origin stuff, right, and just. You mentioned the doco coming out, Pushing Boundaries. That comes out today, first episode. Mate, tell us quickly about your trip to the States, the work you did on your injury, and with your doco, mate. What can our listeners expect to see?
Oh, just with the first part, obviously getting out of my comfort zone, bro. I'm a real mad country boy. I'm through and through. It took me a lot to move to Sydney as a young fellow, and for me to go from here to the Big Apple, New York, Philadelphia, the big smoke. Bro, it was surreal, man. It's just I'm getting myself out of this comfort zone, that I've never ever tapped into. I'm always in a team environment, going overseas, or I'm always around the boys. It was just more getting selfish, being with myself, and then going and obviously expressing, the way I move, the way, and just training all them little things, little shapes that I'm making. And, you know, it showed on the weekend against Parra, that run I did, that was just all built up from when I was training, like just all them little short feet stuff, everything. And what they're going to see is just all the frustration built, like I said, like I'm used to going fast, quick, powerful, and slowing everything down. Bill took it. I was like, I just wanted to punch him in the head because I was like, I want to go fast. It was like he was throwing a piece of bait out and then reeling, you know, and then reeling it back in and then going, nah, we're back in the gym again to work on the strength stuff. And I was just like, throw the hands up in the air going, wow. I should, you know what I mean? And then obviously the second half shows, it's going to show, like the first half today, next week's going to be the second, and it's going to show all that build up into Parramatta games. So, it's really enjoyable to show people that I wasn't taking a piss. It wasn't, you know, people take it, you know, let me go on holiday, get away from Australia. It wasn't that. It was none of that. You know, I got to sightsee and explore and do, but at the end of the day, I put the hard work in to be able to get myself to a point where I had a day off. I had to take the load off. All right, let's go see, you know, a little bit. Let's go see a bit of history and, and it was really enjoyable, bro. Like a young Koori kid from Parra, didn't think he could make anything, you know, travel in the world, and I'm very proud of myself to be able to people and share them experiences.
Oh, 100%, mate, 100%. Now, last year, obviously, you missed out on the grand final. And do you feel that this year, you know, the boys have done a really good job of fighting their way into the 8? Do you feel that this year it's even, I guess, not that you owe anyone anything, but like you're so important to that side? Was that also a big part of your thinking right now? Was like you're a huge reason for it?
100%, bro. You know, it was. Like, I let the team down and I let myself down. Like, but that's the game of rugby league, and that's the learnings I've taken out of it. You know, things happen in split seconds that you cannot change, and I don't want to go back and dwell on that because that's not the game. That's not what it's about. You know, you get to one week, you get to the next. That's the beauty about rugby league is worrying and focusing on the next week. But coming back to that, it's more, yes, I need to, you know, show my teammates that I am ready to be here and be committed to these followers and ready to, you know, put the body on the line and ready to go. And I've always been like that, bro. And I've always committed to my teammates. And that's why, you know, I've stayed in the game so long because I love being around my mates. And, I just think that this big decision that I sacrificed to give back to the club, to my teammates, but also, you know, coming back to myself, bro, and just investing in myself and, you know, not wasting that time that I had to blow it in one game, you know, and that's the reason around the whole process of this thing, bro. It was just about giving back and just investing back into myself. So,
and mate, talking about the Rabbits, like you've been involved in some pretty big matches in your career so far. Still only a young man, but you've been named as captain for the Rabbitohs, very first time.
Yeah.
Where does that stand for you in your career, mate?
Well, that's up there with grand finals for me, 100%.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. Cam, like you've led for so long, bro. You've shown the way, and it's a great opportunity. It's such an honour and a privilege, bro. Like I've never captained anything in any sport in my life. And that's saying it's big things, bro. And you know, I spoke to coach, and he rang me that, and I was jumping around cooing and you know, cuddling my missus, and it was just so important to me to be able to have this role. And I know that I've grown into, you know, had this responsibility chucked on me for, you know, so long, and I've grown into it. And to be honest, I had no, no choice really, and you know, to be able to be named, to have the seat, you know, Cam Murray is a great, you know, leader. He leads by example, leads by action, does all the 1%ers, does everything right, and you know, I'm just happy enough to be there beside him, helping him out, and just have that role also, bro. And it's such a privilege to do it at such a, a foundation club, bro. And it's like I said, I hold it up there with one of, you know, my greatest achievements, and I cannot wait for tomorrow night.
Hey, mate, are you across the captain's challenge? Do you know when to pull it out or not?
Yeah, I told the front rows to shut their mouths. Well, the big boys there. No, look, obviously it gives me an excuse to talk to the rest of the game. I think they're like, actually, they're like, oh shit, he's actually not talking to me now.
Big Dog, you've got a new clothing brand, mate, Winmara Clothing. Walk us through how that all came about.
So pretty much, old boy used to work as an Aboriginal education officer back.
Probably have to let him go after this one.
The last 17 years he's been in his job at my local high school in Chatham High, and that's in Taree. But yeah, just sitting in his office thinking about it, and obviously there's a storyline behind Winmurra, like our women as a tribe. There's a whole story around it, and then obviously it means mountains, mountain people, connection to country, and that's what obviously my mob, my tribe, my heritage is about, and it's about that. But this brand is all about not just an Indigenous background; it's all about bringing everyone together, connecting them to what they believe in, and their family, their bloodlines, and all of that. That's what it's about. It's not about this and that, between split and all this. It's all about bringing everyone together, connecting the country, connecting what you are, and that's how Winmurra means mountains, and mountains are together. They're together, they're stuck together, and that's how they look, and that's what the logo. And obviously the bull, my bull. I own a farm. I run a farm. I run about 26 to 27 head of Black Angus, and I got my bull yesterday, so off old Russell Crowe. It's been sitting up there for about 5 years, old fella. But yeah, so that's just the whole concept around it. And the bull obviously represents a strong animal. He's a leader of the pack. He of the herd, and he's just a great symbol to have. As a an icon on my brand, and that's just all it's about, man. It's about my farm and the things I love, and then intertwining that with the brand so people can wear it and feel connected. And also seeing it at footy games, bro. I just want to see it at games, people wearing it, being proud to represent Winmurra, and that's the concept around it. And it's got good traction, man. It's been good. People are loving it, and I'm starting off slow. I'm not like Big Foxy, let's try it. And all this
Yeah, definitely got to let him go after this. Thanks, boys.
Watching that grow, and it's such a great thing because it's one of the brothers, and I just want it's not about all the money. I don't give. To be honest, I couldn't give. About that connection, storyline, and just that the deeper story, and that's all it's about, boys. It's just sharing the journey, and that's what I love.
Mate, thank you so much for joining us, Trell. I appreciate it, brother, and good luck on the weekend.
Thanks, boys.
Good on you, Trell.
Appreciate it, lads.
Legend, brother.
See you, mate.
See you, Ruz. There he is, the great Latrell Mitchell.
Nah, he's good, mate.
Absolute legend. I mean, we forget, it's such a short period he achieved so much in the game. Such a fan of Latrell. How good to hear the big fella. He seems like he's in extremely good spirits.
Yep.
He's happy. And I tell you what, a happy Latrell is a scary Latrell on the field. Very scary. Yep. Now, we're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to continue to preview the round. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Now,
mate, we struggled to get back on air there.
Honestly, I was going to call it quits, Smithy. I was going to say, let's knock it on the head. Let's knock it on the head because Schnitz have delivered the food, and it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you to Schnitz down in Rabina. We appreciate you.
Yep.
Oh, man, tastes so good. Now, let's get to the preview. Yep. We've got...
well, the Knights are playing the Rabbits.
The Knights are playing the Rabbits.
About that. So,
Big Trelly.
What are you thinking?
Look, I think the Rabbitohs get the job done, and I think they get it done well, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, they're playing... they're pretty good, and Latrell looked good for his first game in a long time.
Far out.
And also, we just mentioned he's been given the captaincy. Look, I think they'll get the win. Jaden Brayley, he's been named on the bench first game this year.
Huge in for the Knights.
Great for him.
Yep.
He's been very unfortunate with injuries over the last couple of years, and great to see him back on the bench. Bradman Best named to return at centre as well after that pec injury.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
couple back for Newey, but obviously KP Kalen Ponga out on duties for Queensland. Yeah, look, I think South Sydney get this one.
Yeah, look, I just think that the Rabbitohs, they're going to be so buoyed by Latrell's return. You could see the energy. It wasn't just Latrell that played well on the weekend. Everyone played better. Cody Walker.
Yeah, Cody.
You know what I mean?
Yep, huge.
That ball that was an inch behind a player last week is now exactly where it needs to be.
Yep.
His pass for one of their first tries was incredible, Cody Walker, on the weekend.
Yep.
So I think...
So we're the Bunnies.
I think the Bunnies for sure.
Yep.
Now, next game is...
West Tigers.
Tigers versus the Parramatta Eels.
Battle of the West.
Look, I think this is going to be a tough night for the Tigers.
Oh.
Because Parramatta Eels, we always know they bounce back usually after a loss.
Yes.
Very underwhelming last week. Looked like I'm of the mind, like with the Eels, you're just not going to be able to pick them. All they got to do is get themselves in the finals and then hope they go on a run. Because it's just, I don't know if they're going to have it in them to go consistently. Yeah. So look, Parramatta Eels, we've got James Talmar returns for the Tigers. Alex Seyfarth drops out of the side. Dewey returns to the starting side. But interestingly, again, not sure how true this is, but reports came out that he said, I'd rather play 5'8" in New South Wales Cup than centre in grade.
Dewey.
Because he wants to play
wants to be
six.
a 5'8".
which is kind of, it's a double-edged sword. You want your player to be that keen to play in a specific position.
Yep.
I'm surprised the Tigers aren't going with Hastings Dewey moving forward because that's the plan, should be the plan next year.
Long term.
Anyway, so really interesting to see what goes on there.
I'm thinking Para.
Thinking Para?
Yeah, Parramatta.
Okay,
mate.
Parramatta get the win.
Mhm.
And then we got the Brizzy Broncos versus St. George Dragons. Now,
Oh,
initially you
here
had
we
the Broncos,
go.
but Smithy, are you telling me that you're going Dragons now?
Well, when I seen the Dragons at $2.60 early in the week, I'm thinking, ooh, that is juicy.
Juicy?
Well, given the amount of players that the Broncos are missing due to Origin, Payne Haas injured,
Capewell out, Carrigan out,
Flegler,
out.
It's just there's
Farmworth out.
there's a lot.
Okay. Don't do it to me, Smithy. Are you going to do it? Are you officially putting it in the Dragons to get the win?
I'm not officially putting it in. Not officially at all. I was going to say the thing that's on the Broncos side, which is clear, is that it's at home. And it's going to be a dry track.
Yep.
Nice and sunny up there at Suncorp. And I did see the field a couple of days ago when the team assembled in Brisbane. Immaculate.
Really?
It looks fast.
It's a fast track.
Oh, mate.
How good.
That fast is like when you scored 4.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's
fast.
That's pretty
Well,
fast.
you can run fast on that.
Not anymore. Do the hammy if I ran fast.
Look, you know what? For you, I'm going to go the Bronx.
Yes,
right?
Smithy.
But this will be a tight one.
Okay. I'm going Bronx as well. We're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to wrap the show up. See you on the other side. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. What a show. Make sure next week, tune in. We are reviewing the decider. Smithy, he's going to review it for us.
Yep.
He's going to back up. He's going to do the hard yards. And also, thank you so much for all your texts, guys. We couldn't get to them all because we had such a chock-a-block show, but we appreciate it. Keep texting in. Smithy, what are your tips?
I've got Storm.
Yep.
I've got Rabbits. I've got Eels.
Yep.
And the only home side I'm tipping this week.
Wow.
Broncos, your boys better get home.
Let's go.
They better
will.
get home.
They won't let you down, Smithy.
Okay.
It's a new look Broncos.
All right.
New
There you
look
go.
Broncos, mate. Good luck next week.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks,
We'll
Kempy.
see you all next week. Thanks for listening. Listen on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.